Teach me how to kitty. Hey, what's up, gang? It's Deltia from DeltiasGaming.com, and in this video, I want to show you don't dance around naked like a kitty cat going crazy. Wear gear, and if you're in Orsinium or looking forward to the new content, here's what's in store for you. The gear that's coming out, and then where to get it. Let's talk gear. The first of our three sections in gear is the new craftable set. Some useful, not so much, but I think one piece is what all Magic users are going to be using, and that's the Juliana sets. Let's cover the new craftable sets and ESO Orsinium. The Robe of Trials, Trial by Fire set. This is an interesting set with a unique 5-piece. When you take elemental damage, gained 5,000 resistance to that element for 4 seconds. You can only be resistant to one element at a time. Now, while I think this is somewhat useful for a craftable set, it might be a niche spell resistance fire heavy set for specific bosses. I can't see tanks using this over something else right now, though the 5,000 resistance could add up in boss specific fights. Stay tuned to see if this is useful for tanks later on. The second craftable set is the Law of Julianos. This thing is absolutely amazing, and it's basically the mirror opposite of Hunding's Rage for spell damage. 299, almost exactly what Hunding's gives, along with spell crit and max magic. I can foresee magic coming back in a big way because they did not have this available to them. Plus it's crafted so you don't need to farm dungeons all day and all night to get this set, and you can make it the way you want it to look. I'm a huge fan of this set, and I want to combine it with the Overwhelming set that drops in White Gold Tower to make a monster magical DPS. Super excited about Julianos. The Armor of the Code is a very unique armor set with a 1-piece bonus that people might get. Increases your weapon and spell critical rating against target with a lower percentage of health than you by 2,000. Now, if that crit rating is what I think it would be in almost about 10%, this might be something that every single person wants to use as one piece. Though I don't know how it's going to work. You might want to use this with Spell Sim to keep your health a little bit low, but it's kind of a niche thing. We'll have to see if it works later on, but it's something that's very, very interesting and might be very useful. Don't know, didn't test it yet, but something interesting. This is a unique set that I think is going to be pretty cool to witness. 10% chance when using light or heavy attacks to summon an animated weapon to attack your enemies. The weapon's base attack deals 2675 physical damage. Now, I don't know how that scales and how it will scale up, but it's something interesting to see. And I think it's going to bring back some of the lore things that we like with other ESO games and using the summoning skill line to bring out swords and weapons to fight for you. Is it going to be the best DPS tool in the game? No. But is it cool? Yes. The next sets up you have are the Maelstrom Arena Master Weapons, only obtained through Veteran Mode, the final boss. Now, I did ask the developers if you could get this through PvP, and no is the answer right now, which I will provide feedback on because I think you want to play your way, and there should be some other way to unlock these than just doing the arena for those that don't like solo PvE. Just so you know, right now as it stands, PvE only, solo arena, Maelstrom. I think this is a really cool set. Axe, a one-hander, it's going to grant a big bonus to Fury, weapon, and spell damage for the next single target damage over time effect within 4 seconds. So obviously the combo here would be to equip 2 swords or daggers and use Fury into the dot and the dual wield skill line is the way I foresee this being used. But if you're a Dragon Knight, you might use a magic-based fire damage spell as well, using this maybe even in a magic build. So the results are endless, especially with the spell damage. I might even try it on my Dragon Knight Laceration to proc almost 400 spell damage. Interesting set for sure. I think this is one of the weaker of the master weapons, and that's the Master Bow, or the Maelstrom Bow. It increases volley damage by 8 per 0.5 seconds, so really 16 over 1 second, not that significant. But what is nice is the additional weapon damage just for having it equipped. So the bow users, you're probably going to want this, but it's not game breaking if you don't have it. This is the same thing as the axe that I showed you earlier, just in dagger form, which determines the passives that you get. Axes have a bleed, daggers have a higher percent crit, swords have more damage, and then hammers have penetration. Either way, you can't go wrong depending on your specific build, but I plan to use dagger with high crit. This sucker is a must-have, the Great Sword. Your critical charge deals an additional 11,000 physical damage over 5 seconds. This screams two-handed stam sork, and I cannot wait to get this. Even while equipped, you almost get 200 weapon damage. A must-have for those two-handed crit rushers out there. Crit charge on a stam sork, proccing a bleed. Yes, please. The good old Maelstrom Inferno Staff. Now, Wall of Elements used to be really popular, and it might bring it back. Taking additional damage from your light and heavy attacks, while equipped gives you a massive amount of spell damage. Now, that's not a whole lot of additional damage from light and heavy attacks. Wall of Elements is a big nasty AoE effect that people don't usually use after it got nerfed in a previous patch. Will it bring it back? Maybe, but the additional spell damage for having it equipped makes it a must-have for magic users. One-handed mace here is probably the go-to tanking setup. Low slash grants an additional damage and restores stamina on your next fully charged heavy attack. The way I envision this happening is a boss is going to attack you as a tank, you're going to block it, you're going to low slash, charge up a full heavy attack, and bang. Even if having slotted doesn't give you health, it gives you resistance, which is much needed for tanks out there. Combine that with the shield, this is a strong setup for a tank. This is the same as the two-hander, though it gives you more penetration for having a mace two-hander equipped. Probably is what I would prefer over the sword, in my opinion, for PvP. Either way, both things you're going to want to get. I think this is the most powerful of all the weapons, and that's the Restoration Staff. Regeneration restores 481 magic to when you critically heal a target. Can only occur once every 4 seconds. While equipped, grants an additional amount of spell critical. This is incredible. Imagine having on one bar your healing spring staff from the previous Dragonstar Arena, and on this you got regeneration. You can restore stamina and or magic now for having both things equipped. It would be really cool to see this build run. And also, restoring magic, that's huge for us magic users out there. Combine this with Spell Power Cure, which I already have, your healer would be giving back resources and damage like crazy. Can't wait for this. Last category we have up here is the good old drop sets. Now you can get these from drops and or around Orsinium, and specifically in the Maelstrom Arena. Some good, some bad, some amazing. The Hunt Leader set is an interesting 5-piece that you notice comes in rings, jewelry, and or armor pieces. So it's going to unlock a really good amount of 5v5 combo. Gain stamina and health when your pets attack an enemy you've also recently attacked. This, I think, is kind of a niche set for a stam-based sorcerer that has pets. You could also do a werewolf combination thing here too with pets, and then maybe even the 2-piece set that summons the Daedroth. Have a really cool, unique build. Is it going to be the best in game? Probably not, but it's something cool and the effect is amazing. Here's another tank types of set, and after not taking damage, gain for 10 seconds, gain a massive damage shield. How you would use this, I imagine, would be something like Dragonstar Arena or Maelstrom Arena. Basically, after every round, you could start the round with a massive damage shield. But if not taking 10 damage for 10 seconds is the only thing that's procs this, I can't see using this over something else. Now, if it scales with the champion point system and using the Bastion, you might have some cool, unique builds with this. The Permafrost set has a really unique 5-piece passive, and that gained health recovery while you have a damage shield. So how would I use this? I would run a try-drink setup on a Dragonite tank using igneous shields to constantly have that health recovery. Yes, it would prevent you from the need to self-heal all the time, but I don't know if health recovery is still worth it to spec into. But I can foresee people getting around 3,000 health recovery, and that's every 2 seconds. So you might not need a whole lot of self-heals if you run something like this. Interesting, but I don't know how effective it will be. This is, I think, the go-to setup here for stam builds, the 5-piece. 10% chance where you critically deal damage creates a whatever the heck that is, increasing your weapon damage by 449 for 10 seconds. While this is active, your critical hits will heal you for 609 health. Now this can only be applied every 15 seconds. Okay, that is incredible. Imagine running this set with the Essence Thief as well that you can get in the White Gold Tower. Proccing extra damage and self-heals, it basically makes you like a Stam Sork for a while. Imagine running this on a Stam Sork. Now it does have a 15-second cooldown, but it lasts 10 seconds. You can pretty much constantly keep this up. It might be the best, most powerful set in the game for stamina builds combined with Essence Thief. The Elemental Succession set I think was made for Magic Sorks. Your attacks from a single element gain 448 spell damage for 4 seconds. This effect rotates through the elements starting with fire, then shock, then frost. If it works the way I think it does, you could use Crushing Shock or Force Pulse, the ability and the Destruction Staff skill line, and basically constantly keep this up. Though I don't know how likely it is to continue proccing. If that were the case, you would almost have to wear this thing on a Magic Sork. Very interesting. I think it's going to be a very effective setup. The Glorious Defender set I think is an interesting semi-tank thing that you could use. 8% chance when you hit an enemy with light or heavy attack to dodge the next chance gets you. What I imagine this would be used with is a Histbark setup or an Armor Mastery setup. So basically you're getting that elude chance, the 20%, and then you'd be light attacking in between blocking to proc that extra 8% chance to miss an enemy. So I would run this on a Magic Nightblade tank using Double Cloak and maybe Weaving. Pretty cool set. You're going to be really hard to hit with it, but I don't know if it's worth getting the 5-piece. The Trimmermax Valor set. 10% chance when you cast a damage shield on an ally to call down a fragment of Trimmermax that heals allies and damages enemies in the area for 3, 6, 6, 7. It could only occur once every 3 seconds. Wow, this is interesting, and damage shields are the thing. So you could almost use a Magic Dragonite once again with Igneous Shields. You could also combine this with Barrier. A lot of interesting, unique ways to bring this set. And the 3-second cooldown I think is fair enough for the amount of healing and damage it does. We'll have to wait and see how big the area is and how mobile it is. Really, really useful for specific application. The Mark of the Pariah set. Increasing your physical and spell resistance by 8514 based on your missing health. I honestly don't think this is that valuable, considering that it goes up and down, yo-yoing, depending on how much health you're missing. Personally, in my setup tanks, I want to hit the hard cap and always have it there. So I don't think I would be using this, but something interesting. The Winterborn set I think is going to be a really cool set that you're going to use with the Narayaneth Lich Crystal set. So 5% chance when you deal cold damage to summon an Ice Pillar for 2 seconds that damages enemies and snares them for 60%. What I envision this being used with is Elemental Blockade and or Impulse morphed into the element and then just running through a big huge fight, spamming your ability with a Cold Staff. Now, I don't know how well this is going to work, but if you combine it with the Nina set or Narayaneth and Crypt of Hearts, you might have some interesting combos. So that was the gear setup. What do you think? What are the cool, unique, interesting sets that you want to get? And I'm a little disappointed you can only get the weapons through solo play. I wish there was a way to get them in group mechanic, though I understand they want to incentivize it. So hopefully my kitty cat won't be naked anymore, and I can get some new cool gear to rock out. And Elder Scrolls Online or Orsinium. Thanks for watching.